Greetings. Welcome back to my channel, Ham Radio Test and Review. My name is Dave. I live in Prescott, Arizona, and my call sign is N8DAV with my name and my call sign. I have a motto for my channel, and that is, one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. So if you have an opinion about a particular antenna, you need to back it up with real-world testing. And that's what I do here on my channel. So hang on just a second, and we're going to get into the last few of our stubby antenna tests in our series of stubby antennas. So kick back, relax, and I'll be right back. Today, I am going to be testing a very specialized antenna. It is UHF only, specified only for 70 centimeter band, and it is a very, very tiny antenna, as you can see right here. I'm going to try and put it up against the light background here. It is about 1.5 inches long, I believe, and I'll get you the specs here in just a second. But I do want to tell you that because we have so many GMRS fans out here, I will be testing it on the GMRS frequencies as well. That way you can tell that if a stubby antenna might be good for the GMRS fans that we have. So hang on just a second, and I will be right back with the specifications. I forgot to mention, here's the packaging that comes in. It is a twofer, so you get a 2 per package. And once again, I'll be right back. So the specifications for this antenna is made by Bingfu, or at least marketed by Bingfu. It is a UHF only antenna, specified only for the 70 centimeter band. So it's a single band antenna for 400 to 470 megahertz. It is 1.5 inches long, hard plastic, has an SMA female connector, specified as being a 50 ohm impedance. And the SWR is not specified on it at all, but of course we'll test to find that out. The power specified on it is not specified, so there's no maximum power input specified for it. It does state, though, excuse me, that it has 3 dB gain, and what do you call it? The wave and the resonance of the antenna, of course, is not specified. For such a short antenna, you're not going to get that anyway. So let's take a look at also, does it come with a rubber gasket or grommet that a lot of these antennas do nowadays? And no, it does not. But I did pay a really good price for these antennas. It's a twofer, it's a 2-pack, $4.99 for 2. Can't get much better than that. That's about as cheap an antenna as I've purchased off of Amazon. So I think that you'll find that sometimes cheap antennas are great antennas, and cheap antennas may not be, but we'll have to see what the tests come out to be. One last thing I do want to tell you is the quality control on this antenna is not so great. When I got both antennas, there was some flashing, in other words, excess plastic. At the bottom of the antenna, I had to break off or cut off in order to make it fit the radio properly. And also, too, there is a mold seam all the way around from one side of the antenna, all the way across the top, all the way around to the other side of the antenna. I don't know of any other antennas that have this seam, so it kind of portrays really bad quality and maybe bad quality control. I don't really know, but yeah, it's not the greatest looking antenna. It's got a little hat on it, as you saw, kind of funky looking, but let's see how it performs. So when you see me again, we'll be back and we're going to start all of our testing, and we will be testing 70 centimeter and the GMRS bands. All right, cut right back. All right, we're testing this little Bingfu UHF only antenna. By the way, there's no model number for this particular antenna. I don't know why. They just call it a ham radio antenna, and it's specified as UHF only. So here we go. We're going to do our first test on UHF frequency, and we get an SWR of 1:1 at 3.13 watts. And as always, for our GMRS fans out there, we're going to see how this will, or how poorly this does on the GMRS band, channel 16. And we get an SWR of 1.31 at 4.41 watts. And as we always do, we back up and verify all of our power SWR meter readings using the Nano VNA antenna analyzer. Now, when I turn the antenna analyzer on, it defaults first to the calibrated 2-meter band, but I will switch it over to my calibrated SWR, 70 centimeter band. And here we go with an interesting curve here. At the center of the band, we are at 1.525 at 435. I do want to explore this a little bit and see how low the SWR actually does go. Right there at 1.241. And that's at 447.600 megahertz. Now, when I test it at 446, on the power SWR meter, that's pretty close, 446.1. The Nano VNA shows an SWR of 1.256. Next, we are going to test this on the GMRS band. I've calibrated on the Nano VNA here. And we have a nice flat curve. At the center of the band, we are at 1.948 at 465 megahertz. And just so we can see what the lowest SWR is here, looks like 1.916 at 462. Alrighty, we are going to do the field strength testing on this Bingfu ham radio UHF only antenna using the Surecom SF103 field strength and frequency counting meter at a prescribed distance on the 70 centimeter band first. Now we're going to test the field strength on the GMRS channel 16. All right, here I am at my favorite stubby antenna testing part. As you, I'm sure if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that this is 1/4 to 3/8 of a mile from my home. I have 2, maybe even 3 homes in between here and my base station antenna. I have an outbuilding, and I'm also testing underneath a metal structure like a gazebo. And as you can see right up behind me here, I've got high power tension lines almost right over my head. Now, normally I test using the 2-meter band. Now, the 2-meter band compared to the 70 centimeter band, usually you can get a little more distance with the same amount of wattage, same amount of power, and but it's prone to more disruption and interference than the 70 centimeter band. And the 70 centimeter band is a little more prone to being able to cut through obstructions than the 2-meter band is. So, you know, it's 6/2 dozen of another, and I've never tested a stubby antenna on UHF only before from this location. So I don't know how this is going to work, but let's find out. I have here my Baofeng trusty UV17 Pro GPS with the Bingfu ham radio UHF only antenna. Here we go. This is N8DAV. I am testing 1, 2, 3, and we are testing the Bingfu ham radio UHF only antenna for modulation, clarity, and staticness, if that's a word. This is N8DAV. I am testing 1, 2, 3, and we are testing the Bingfu ham radio UHF only antenna for modulation and clarity and staticness, if that's a word. Okay, you like my new word of the day. So here we are. I'm getting virtually static-free transmission reception from my base station to my base station using this little tiny 1.5 inch long antenna. It's kind of crazy to me, but it's actually working. So let's go back to my ham shack. As you can probably see in here, it's getting windy again. And let's review all the results of all the tests, and let's see what we think of this little tiny UHF only antenna. So what did we learn today from all this testing? Well, I gotta tell you, I'm a little surprised, and on one hand, and not surprised on the other. What I'm surprised about is that such a cheap Chinese, just terrible looking quality antenna actually performed as well as it did. So let me kind of go over this. You know, a dual band antenna is compromised. A tri-band antenna is even more compromised. And this is a monoband antenna, and because it's so short, it has to be coiled, and which is like a transformer. It absorbs some of the RF energy that goes into it, and it has to be compromised. However, when we look at the test results, they look pretty darn good. What am I saying here? All right. So, first of all, we only tested on the 70 centimeter and on the GMRS bands. Now, this antenna was not specified to work on GMRS, but I always test on GMRS for not only for our fans, but because you never know, you might end up on the GMRS bands at some point, and you want to know if this antenna is going to work well or not. So, what did we find out? Well, with the power SWR meter, we ended up with an SWR of 1. Now, you can't get any better than that. That's pretty darn good. In the GMRS band, we ended up on channel 16, an SWR of 1.3 to 1. Once again, excellent, 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 excellent. So, what did the nano VNA say about this? So going to the frequency of 446, which is what I tested using the power SWR meter, on the nano VNA, I got an SWR of 1.26, or we'll call it 1.3, which is very, very close to the 1.0 of the power SWR meter. We got 1.5 at the center of the 70 centimeter band, which is at 435 megahertz. So that's pretty darn good for a $2.50 antenna, 2 for 5. And so what did we get on GMRS? So on GMRS, I tested originally on the channel 16, which is 462, 575. So I tested on the nano VNA 462, and I came out with 1.9. So 1.3 to 1.9. Pretty close. I would have expected it to be a little closer, but still, we're looking like good SWR up on the GMRS band. And even though this antenna is not designed for, or at least specified as being good for the GMRS band. So we're looking pretty darn good there. I'm going to have to come right back. Sorry about that. Okay, so what did I get for the field strength meter readings? I got outstanding readings. First of all, with other stubby antennas that have about the same SWR, I got significantly higher power readings. So I think that this might actually do fairly well on the 70 centimeter band. And the same goes for the GMRS band. I got some significantly higher field strength readings. So what can I say? I mean, the tests show what they show. So, and then the last but not least, our real world, our modulation, and static or no static test came in full quieting on the repeater. Now, for that short of an antenna to go that distance with all those obstructions and the power lines up above, I'm pretty impressed with this little tiny antenna. One thing to keep in mind though, with these little tiny antennas, there's not much physical space. In other words, there's not much real estate to them. Therefore, compared to a longer antenna with maybe the same SWR, they're certainly not going to transmit or receive better than a much longer antenna. Like let's say, for instance, a signal stick. Signal stick dual band is 19 inches. So that's a lot longer than the inch and a half length on this antenna. So just something to keep into consideration. Stubby antennas will never perform the same as their longer and better brethren. But you know what? These stubby antennas have a place in this ham radio world and GMRS world. And as long as you know their limitations and you know what to expect and you don't try to push them farther than they're capable, then they should perform okay for you, especially this monoband antenna. So that's what we learned today. And my name is Dave. My call sign is N8DAV with my name in my call sign. I live in Prescott, Arizona. And the motto for my channel is one test is equivalent to 1,000 expert opinions. So something to take a consideration. Remember all the tests and the results that we have today. And this antenna might be a good one for what you're using it for. I know for me, I have one particular use case where all I need is one particular frequency, and that's for my clear node. And that particular frequency doesn't change, and it's up on the UHF band. So I have a UHF only antenna, and I will be testing that particular antenna in my next video. So that's everything that I have to say, and 73s to you, and so long.